Hello and good morning. Welcome to our S&D press conference for this plenary on many crucial topics, and I hand over to our group president, Iratxe García Perez.
Buenos días.
Good morning to everybody. Thank you for coming to this meeting. I'd like to begin with a reference to the Congress for the S&D family due, as you know, in Berlin. This weekend we were able to have our Congress and talk about policies and choose the teams which are going to implement those policies. We also elected Stefan Löfven as the new head of the European Socialist Party, and obviously he'll bring with him the bureau who will help him. There have also been some very interesting meetings with Olaf Scholz, German Chancellor, Wolfgang Schmidt, and with heads of government from the Social Democratic family. We adopted a political resolution as well, which is intended to be the roadmap which will prepare us for the coming elections in 2024. There were important debates, and it was also an opportunity for us all to meet again after the difficult years of the pandemic. And I think that we can say that European social democracy is ready to take up the challenges facing the citizens in order to strengthen the role of the European project in their lives, and also for us to become the majority political force in the next elections. Second plenary now in October, which I think draws on debates that we've had in recent months, but the political situation is changing and we need to adapt to that. On the war in Ukraine, we have been able to see, or we were able to see yesterday, how Vladimir Putin is infringing international law and punishing the population in Ukraine all the time. We've seen atrocities committed last week and yesterday as well. It's quite clear that we will stand united in supporting the Ukrainian people. We're not going to give way to blackmail and pressures. We're also going to take measures to mitigate the effects that the crisis is having on families. And for that reason, the economic and social consequences of the crisis for us will be dealt with in a debate that we wanted to have in the plenary session this morning about how to bring down the bills for families. The energy crisis, the inflationary crisis mean that families are facing genuine difficulties, and the majority of families are facing those, but it's particularly true for the most vulnerable. And that's why we've put forward a series of proposals, some of them to do with energy, which the European Commission has taken up, such as common energy purchasing or joint energy purchasing, and I welcome the fact that that's included in the proposal which will be put forward tomorrow. But they simply don't go far enough in order to tackle the current situation, and that's why we're asking for a windfall tax on companies that are benefiting from the crisis, and we need a solidarity fund for the winter as well. There are families facing genuine difficulties when it comes to turning on the lights or the heating or being able to buy the things that they need. So some kind of fund to help them, I think, will be necessary. And then there's the European Fund to help those who are unemployed. There's a standing fund that we have, and it's important that this should continue. And the Commission actually needs to step up the pace to adopt these measures. We've heard that they're going to put these forward, but we need more ambitious proposals. from the European Commission and a more ambitious approach from the Council as well. It's also unacceptable, and this I want to make very clear, it's unacceptable that the Parliament should not be included by the Commission on certain measures which should involve the Parliament. We're aware that there's a certain sense of urgency, but some of the proposals put forward under Article 122 exclude the European Parliament, and we find that's unacceptable. And another issue which we are putting forward as part of the plenary debates is the rise of the extreme right and the way that some political forces are dealing with that. This undermines the European project. We've seen what's happened in Italy, how, thanks to Forza Italia, the right has managed to take hold, and there are people who question basic democratic principles who are taking up political posts there. When Mr. Weber was trying to talk about or justify the entry of Forza Italia into this right-wing kind of coalition and saying that it would help the political or the government to keep a pro-European approach in Italy. But what you're seeing is Forza Italia doesn't really count for anything in that government. So it's going to be difficult for it to support it as a pro-European government when they're not even involved in the decisions which are going to be taken by that government. They simply lack power. So that's something I think that the European People's Party needs to think about, as does Renew. The Liberals are part of the agreement for the government announced in Switzerland, a government supported by the extreme right, and they have a political programme which they've set out with policies which I think are a matter of genuine concern, and the Liberals should be worried about those as well. I mean, they say they're against those kinds of political forces. And I am not sure if Mr. Séjourné has said that they're going to have some kind of debate and that they're against the agreement. That may well have happened, but it might have been good if he'd said that a week before the agreement was actually put together. So I'm not quite sure what they're going to discuss in Renew. Perhaps they could debate when the Liberal members of the European Parliament are going to be leaving. Since they have signed up to this extreme right government, coalition government. So the only thing they should be debating is when they're going to leave. But if they're going to continue in Renew, then Renew will be complicit in the entry of the extreme right into the European institutions. These are the things which we are going to discuss in the debate on the matter tomorrow. Then there's the Sakharov Prize. As you know, we've put forward a proposal so together with the EPP and Renew to award the prize to the Ukrainian people for their bravery. They're fighting not just to defend the borders of their country, but also to defend the values of the European Union and international law. So it's important that in the Conference of Presidents we take the decision on the prize, and I have to say that I am happy to see that aside from that joint proposal on for the Ukrainian people, the Truth Commission in Colombia is also one of the finalists, and this shows how people working collectively can manage to heal their wounds by shining a light on dark periods from their past. The Sakharov Prize is not just about defending European values, but also very much about defending joint human values, universal rights. And I think that the Truth Commission in Colombia shows a very positive example of how we can move towards peace by including all the different sectors of of society. So it's good to see them amongst the finalists for the Sakharov Prize. Those are then other questions that we'll be looking at during this session, and I'm now at your disposal if you have any questions.
Muchas gracias, Iratxe. There are questions. Please present yourself. Thank you.
Oui. Bonjour, je vais poser ma question.
Good morning. I'll be speaking French. Emmanuel Berata from Le Point. You met Scholz. Did you discuss the extension of the Iberian derogation for the European market? France, Sweden, the Baltic countries are involved, or has this been sidelined?
Yo he planteado
Of course, I raised the matter. It's a position which the S&D group defends. And that's the extension of the Iberian exception to the rest of the European Union. We have been able to see that in the Commission's work programme, they are looking at a reform of the electricity market and possible decoupling of gas from electricity in the mix. Unfortunately, it comes somewhat too late. It's scheduled for the third quarter of next year, and I honestly think we need to be looking at that much quicker. We've talked about that. We've also talked about the interconnections. That's an important issue, and that's necessary if we want to allow energy to be shifted around and to make it to all the different corners of the European Union. So there, I think that's another fundamental issue which we've been raising. And we've put all these forward as a kind of package. And there are some aspects of that which will go down better than others. But I think from the Socialist group, we've managed to get these issues flagged up or raised with all the prime ministers.
Eleonora.
Hi, I'm Eleonora from Euractiv. I have a question about another debate in the plenary that was yesterday, the rule of law in Malta. Abela was at the Congress also last weekend, and my question is, what is the S&D assessment of the improving situation of rule of law in Malta after the killing of Caruana Galizia? Thank you.
la defensa.
The S&D approach to freedom of the press and that throughout the whole of the European Union is, of course, of key importance. That's why we've been working on the resolution. We're going to vote in favour of that. It'll be adopted by the Parliament, and it recognises the progress made by Malta in ensuring transparency throughout, in dealing with these affairs. We're seeing serious, in-depth reforms which are being carried out. The European Commission has said that, as has the Parliament. It's recognised the progress made by the Maltese government. And in terms of the concerns that we have, well, we're particularly worried about the freedom of press throughout the whole of the European Union. So we need to take a broad approach. There are some cases in Greece, I think, which need to be investigated. And we would like, or we wanted to have a debate on this, but the EPP didn't support us on that. So it seems that some people want to take a more selective approach to who we should defend, but we think we should defend everybody when it comes to freedom of the press across the board. It's a matter for everybody.
Est-ce qu'il y a d'autres questions?
Any further questions?
Hello, my name is Anna Vandensky. I would like to ask you about Sakharov Prize because it largely changed because previously it was originally was more about our individual in history, your personal responsibilities, individual towards historic process, political process, and now you have switched to the other concept of collective, because could you explain why you decided so important to make this switch from individual to collective and attribute this prize to people of Ukraine, which absolutely is not individual, but it's an entity?
Pues porque en este momento
Well, because I think that's more justified now than it has ever been. As you have rightly said, the whole of the Ukrainian people are defending European values and international law, and that's why, well, international rights rather, and that's why we feel we need to point to this whole attitude. Of course, the Ukrainian people involves President Zelensky, politicians, civil society, etc., and they're all working in order to try and defend their country. But they're also trying to defend international rights and international legality, and that's why we thought it was a good idea to do it in this way, and that's why I'm satisfied that we've managed to reach an agreement between the three main groups in the House. We had quite similar proposals, but there were some nuances that were different, and so it's good that we have this compromise, which shows, I think, the importance of the commitment to a whole people.
Are there further questions? If that is not the case, thank you very much, Iratxe. Wishing you all a good day. Merci.